Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. Today's webinar focuses on one of the most meaningful and sensitive aspects of our work, understanding and supporting children who have experienced trauma, particularly those from migrant and multicultural backgrounds. Our main purpose is to explore how trauma affects young children's learning, emotions, and relationships, and to discover practical trauma-informed strategies that help us create classrooms where every child feels safe, seen, and valued. Throughout the session, we'll look at real examples from early childhood settings, learn how to recognize signs of trauma, and discuss how culturally responsive practices can promote healing and inclusion. You will also have the chance to reflect, interact, and exchange ideas with colleagues, because this learning journey is about community, empathy, and growth. By the end of our time together, you will not only understand the foundations of trauma-informed pedagogy, but also feel more confident in applying it in your own classroom, supporting both children's recovery and your own well-being and as an educator. So let's begin the important conversation, one that has the power to turn classrooms into spaces of connection, trust, and hope. Take a moment to reflect. What comes to mind when you hear trauma-informed teaching? Share your thoughts in the chat if you like. This project supports young migrant children ages 4 to 7 and their families as they integrate into new communities. Many face language and cultural barriers that impact learning and belonging. We view schools as hubs of integration, promoting language learning, emotional support, and family engagement, building communities rooted in equality and participation. What barriers might migrant children face in feeling safe and included at school? Think about this. Module 4 has 4 connected units: understanding trauma in early childhood, signs and symptoms in children, trauma-informed pedagogy in multicultural classrooms, building safe and supporting environments. Each unit builds on the last to help you understand, identify, and respond effectively to trauma. Which unit feels most relevant to your classroom experience? Overcoming trauma in early childhood means helping children heal from experiences like war, migration, or separation, while honoring their cultural identities. Healing happens through culturally sensitive support, inclusive routines, and safe spaces where trust and connection can grow. Think of a child who faced a big challenge. How did it affect their behavior of learning? By the end of this module, you will be able to recognize how trauma impacts learning to diverse classrooms, foster safe, inclusive, and emotionally supportive environments, identify signs of trauma, and apply effective strategies for recovery and inclusion. You will understand how trauma shapes emotions and learning, recognize behavioral cues, and apply trauma-informed strategies to build calm, predictable classrooms. You will also work collaboratively with families, show empathy and cultural sensitivity, and support resilience in both students and yourself. Which outcomes feels most challenging for you and why? Before we begin, it's helpful to have some background in early childhood development, classroom management, and multicultural awareness. If these areas are new, revisit earlier modules or connect with colleagues for shared learning. We will use case studies, analysis, role plays, and reflection activities to connect theory with real classroom practice, because understanding trauma is important, but how we respond makes the difference. Have you used role plays or case studies before? How did participants respond? Let's find out how to understand trauma in early childhood. We explore the foundations of trauma-informed practice in early childhood, I will go further, identifying signs and symptoms, exploring frameworks like trauma-informed care, restorative justice, and multicultural education, and learning how to create inclusive spaces. What insight changed how you view children affected by trauma? Module takes about 10 hours combining presentations, discussions, and activities. It's not just about finishing, it's about embracing a trauma-informed mindset. Early trauma refers to distressing events before age 6, like abuse, war, or loss. Even infants absorb stress from their surroundings and caregivers. Each child's reaction is shaped by family and culture, so context is everything. When observing behavior, ask yourself, is this shaped by trauma, culture, or both? Think of a young child who struggled to express emotions. Could trauma have played a role? Children aren't blank slates. Their development reflects temperament, environment, and culture. Understanding trauma helps us see how these factors interact and why some children progress differently after adversity. What cultural or community influences shape how children in your context express stress or emotion? Let's focus on the signs and symptoms of trauma in children. Some children recover quickly after distressing events. Others need time and support. Trauma may show us withdrawal, aggression, or regression. In multicultural settings, teachers must interpret behavior carefully. What seems like defiance may actually be distress. Behavior is communication. Ask what the child is trying to tell you. And think about this again. What's one behavior you have seen that could signal trauma rather than misbehavior? Common signs include withdrawal, regression, difficulty trusting adults, frequent physical complaints, or avoidance of certain topics. These are not diagnoses. Context and collaboration are the key. The indicators of trauma listed in this guide should not be judgments about the particular child or family, made in isolation from others who know the child and family well, or from other sources of information. Think again, which of these indicators have you noticed most often in migrant children? Schools can play a major role in healing. Trauma-informed care, restorative justice, and multicultural education, as we said before, work together to shift from control to connection and from punishment to restoration. School reform goes beyond the individual and focuses on the power of the collective and reform from within. Trauma-informed care emphasizes safety, trust, and empowerment. Teachers can apply it through predictable routines, calm communication, and honoring each child's culture. The principles, safety, transparency, empowerment, and cultural humility, guide every interaction. Another way to think, what does emotional safety look like in your classroom? How can you make it more consistent? Some of the teacher practices is to establish predictable routines and safe spaces, recognize trauma without labeling, use calm tones, visual cues, and grounding techniques, allow children choices to foster a sense of control, respect and incorporate family and cultural values into classroom life, avoid punitive discipline, focus on co-regulation. Restorative justice builds relationships and repairs harm through empathy and dialogue, not punishment. Circle time, peer resolution, and restorative questions help children learn fairness and responsibility. Even young children can understand fairness and repair. Ask, what can we do to make it right instead of who's to blame? How might restorative approaches change the way you handle conflict? Think again about it. Some of the teacher practices for restorative justice is to use daily community building circles. Encourage children to express feelings and needs respectfully. Facilitate peer conflict resolution using child-friendly restorative questions. Model accountability, empathy, and forgiveness. Involve families in relationship-based problem solving. Multicultural education ensures that every child sees their culture, language, and identity reflected in the classroom. It's about representation, anti-bias awareness, and respect. Teachers integrate diverse stories, songs, and celebrations while challenging stereotypes and building cultural partnerships with families. What are some ways your classroom environment affirms children's cultural identities? Let's find out how to build safe and supportive learning environments. What is a safe and supportive learning environment? It's the foundation of trauma recovery. For migrant children, it also guards against cultural dislocation and discrimination. These environments foster a sense of belonging, trust, and consistency, allowing all children to thrive socially and academically. We focus on four types of safety: emotional, physical, cultural, and relational. Each one helps children trust, connect, and thrive. Predictability builds trust. Consistent routines, calm tone, and clear boundaries communicate safety more than words ever can. Which of these four areas, emotional, physical, cultural, or relational, do you find easiest to create? Which is most challenging for you? Teachers can build safety through empathy, consistency, and cultural awareness. Use visual storytelling and flexible seating to promote calm. Validate children's feelings. For example, I see you are upset. I'm here for you. Prepare children in advance for any changes. Remember, healing relationships are built one moment at a time through listening, validating, and empowering. Co-regulate with children by modeling calm reactions. Celebrate cultural events and family stories in classroom life. Follow through on routines and agreements. With these teacher practices, what's one small daily routine that could make your classroom feel safer or calmer for children? Focus on co-regulation and emotional literacy. Model self-regulation by showing calm responses to stress. Another important thing is family engagement. Use home languages when possible. Offer translated materials. Organize inclusive family events and invite informal conversations. Create two-way communication. Listen, don't just inform. Creating safe, inclusive classrooms isn't a checklist. It's an ongoing practice of care and reflection. Trauma-informed, culturally responsive teaching means seeing every behavior as communication and every child as capable of healing. When children feel safe, they learn. When they are seen, they grow. And when their stories are honored, they belong. Remember, Building safe and supporting environments is not a one-time action. Take a deep breath and reflect. What's one mindset shift you will carry forward from today's session? In the following section, we put everything we have learned into practice. We will explore real classroom examples, role-play scenarios, and reflection exercises that help us apply trauma-informed and culturally responsive strategies with confidence. Before we dive in, think about a child from your own teaching experience who struggled with adjustment or emotional regulation. Keep that child in mind as we go through today's session. Let's begin with a case study. This is Sidra, a 6-year-old child who recently arrived from Syria with her family. She's quiet, avoids eye contact, clings to her caregiver, and is startled by loud shouts. At first glance, this might look like shyness or defiance, but when viewed through a trauma-informed lens, they tell us Sidra may be experiencing stress responses rooted in fear and uncertainty. Sidra's behaviors, social withdrawal and selective mutism, clinginess, indicate potential trauma-related adjustment challenges, especially within a new culture and language environment. Remember, these signs don't conflict trauma, but they do invite us to respond with patience, structure, and emotional safety. Remember not to label behaviors as problematic, but to see them as protective responses. One of the most effective strategies for children like Sidra is predictable routines. In her case, the teacher used visual schedules, songs for traditions, and a comfort object to help her manage daily changes. If you were Sidra's teacher, what might you do first to help her feel safe? In our example, a cozy corner was created with soft lighting, sensory toys, and multicultural picture books. This provided Sidra with a place to retreat and self-regulate. This physical environment told her, Sidra, you are safe here, and that's often the foundation for emotional healing. Relationships are the heart of trauma recovery. Sidra's teacher used warm, consistent non-verbal communication, smiles, soft tone, gentle gestures, without forcing verbal responses. Through attunement, the teacher built trust, helping Sidra feel seen and valued, even without words. Let's have the following statement in mind. Connection always comes before correction. Think about a time when a simple gesture, eye contact, a smile, a calm tone helped a child feel safe. What made that moment work? Cultural inclusion is an essential part of healing. In Sidra's class, the teacher learned simple Arabic readings, added Syrian patterns to the reading corner, and invited her family to share a traditional recipe. Sidra began to smile, to participate more during cultural story sharing, because she saw her world reflected in the classroom. What's one small way you could bring a child's culture into your classroom community? Think about that. Play, drawing, and storytelling are powerful tools for trauma recovery. For Sidra, puppet play and art help her express feelings that words couldn't. Trauma impacts language and memory. Remember this. So giving children non-verbal outlets restores agency and voice. What kinds of creative activities have you used to help children express emotions safely? Cinder's progress was also supported through family engagement, regular check-ins with her mother, bilingual communication, and creating a Sidra book built a strong home school bridge. When families are included as cultural partners, children feel more secure, and teachers gain invaluable insight. Families are not guests in the classroom, they are co-educators. These cases remind us trauma-informed strategies and cultural responsiveness must work hand in hand. Safety, relationships, and identity are the three pillars of healing and learning. Which of these pillars, safety, relationships, or identity, do you feel most confident fostering in your classroom? Now let's move into role play. This exercise focuses on Lana, a 7-year-old recently arrived from Syria who cries when separated from her mother and hides under tables. Also, she refuses to join group activities and draws only her house and her family holding heads. We lacked out three short scenes. Scene 1 is arrival. Lana clings to her mother, refusing to enter. Teacher greets her gently in Arabic, Marhaban Lana, and kneels to her level. Offers Lana a small comfort to object or emotion card and gently introduces the routine. Scene number 2, in the classroom. Lana hides under a table when a loud bell rings. Teacher does not force her out, but says calmly, "It's okay, I will sit here with you." Offers her a visual schedule or a quiet task in the cozy corner. Scene number 3, building connection. Teacher notices Lana's drawing of her family. Responds with, "Oh, this is a beautiful picture. Can you tell me about it?" Includes Arabic books and invites Lana to place a photo of her family in the classroom family wall. Let's assign roles. One participant as a teacher, one as Lana, and one as observer. For the teacher role, how did you feel when supporting Lana? What strategies helped create a sense of safety? Did you feel prepared to respond to cultural and emotional needs? For Lana role, we may ask, what made you feel unsafe or disconnected? What responses help you seen and comfort? And for the observer role, which teacher actions aligned with trauma-informed care? How was cultural sensitivity shown or missed? What language and tone helped build trust? Remember also, the goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. These are some key learning points. Trauma-informed care requires patience, observation, and emotional attunement. Cultural responsiveness means acknowledging and integrating the child's identity. Safety is not just physical, it's emotional, relational, and cultural. Reflective practice helps educators become more intentional and compassionate. Here is a group problem-solving activity. Imagine a loud bell rings during playtime and a child hides under a table. What might be happening? How can we respond next time? Possible child-led solutions include using soft music, creating a quiet corner, or alerting the teacher when something feels too loud. Encourage colleagues or students to brainstorm and role-play child-centered solutions. This builds empathy and classroom voice. This activity helps children define safety for themselves. Use visuals or pictures and ask them to share what makes them feel calm, like a cuddle toy, when my teacher smiles or sitting with my friend. Together, turn it into a classroom poster called Our Safety Circle. It becomes a visual reminder of community and care. A few reminders. Always validate feelings before solving problems. Use visual supports for children with limited language and reinforce learning through everyday moments. Role-play and puppetry can make even complex emotions more accessible. This session highlights the heart of trauma-informed, multicultural teaching, patience, observation, and reflection. We don't just manage behavior, we understand it. We don't just teach, we build trust. Safety isn't a one-time goal, it's a continuous practice grounded in empathy and cultural respect. Now let's see what the assessment tool is. This assessment tool is designed to evaluate educators' understanding of trauma-informed pedagogy and its practical application in educational settings. It aims to assess awareness of trauma impact on children's behavior, learning, and emotional regulation. The tool consists of a series of multiple choice and true-false questions that measure key concepts related to trauma-informed education. Topics include principles such as safety and trust, recognition of trauma symptoms, the importance of predictable routines and strategies for supporting emotional regulation. The questions promote reflection on teacher attitudes and practices that foster resilience and inclusion for trauma-affected children. It can be used both as a self-assessment and as part of training education in professional development programs for educators. Today we explore how trauma affects young children, especially those from migrant and multicultural backgrounds, and how we as educators can respond with empathy and understanding. Our session began by recognizing that trauma isn't just about a single event. It's about how children experience and internalize stress, loss, or displacement. Migrant children, in particular, often face not only language and cultural barriers, but also emotional wounds from separation, fear, or instability. Schools, therefore, can become more powerful spaces for healing and belonging. We discussed the four key units of our module: understanding trauma in early childhood, recognizing signs and symptoms, applying trauma-informed pedagogy, and building safe, supporting environments. These steps guide us from awareness to action. Through our examples, like Sidra's story, we saw how small, consistent acts of care can transform a child's experience. Predictable routines, calm tones, and culturally familiar elements help her regain trust and confidence. We also explored the importance of restorative justice and multicultural education, which remind us that every child deserves to see their identity reflected and respected in the classroom. Trauma-informed practice isn't about managing behavior. It's about understanding it. It's about shifting from control to connection, from punishment to empathy. Teachers become emotional anchors, modeling calm and co-regulation, using play, art, and storytelling to help children express feelings that words can't yet hold. Family engagement also plays a vital role. When families are seen as co-educators and cultural patterns, children feel safer and more supported. As we conclude, we return to three pillars of trauma-informed culturally responsive teaching: safety, relationships, and identity. When children feel safe, they can learn. When they feel seen, they can grow. And when their stories are honored, they truly belong. So, as you leave today's session, I invite you to reflect. What's one small change you can make tomorrow? One mindset shift to create a calmer, more inclusive and healing classroom? Remember, every moment of empathy matters. Each child's story is a chance to build trust, connection, and hope. Thank you for your presence and for the heart you bring to this important work. Thank you for your attention.